welcome. I'm Matthew Jacob Jodwin. I'm a certified mentor and mindset coach. And today I want to share with you a short little video that I've created called Mindset 101. Okay. Mindset 101 is meant to illustrate how the human mind operates, and specifically in relationship to universal law, or sometimes called natural law. Most people are familiar with man-made laws like speeding limits and breaking and entering and things like that. But natural laws are a little bit different in the sense that man-made laws, you can break them and sometimes you can get away with it just so long as you never get caught, right? And natural laws, man-made laws, they vary from location to location. Some laws are different in different areas, right? And they also change over time, okay? Natural laws, on the other hand, or universal laws, they don't change. They're called universal for a reason, in the sense that they always apply, and they're working around the clock, nonstop, whether we realize it or not, okay? Now, sometimes I'll ask people, I'll say to them, your mind is the most advanced piece of biological technology known to man, right? It's controlling you and your life and everything that you touch, correct? Now, my question is, how much do you really know about your own mind? And it's at that point that a lot of times people realize, actually, you know what? I don't know that much about my own mind, which I think is just fascinating, because you can go through 12 or more years of formal education and come out with a very little understanding of yourself or your mind and how it operates. And I'm of the belief that the more that you know about yourself, the more that you know about your mind, and the more that you know about how it works, the better results that you get in life, okay? So today, I'm going to show you what I call Mindset 101. Mindset 101, just a little quick crash course in mindset. And what we need to understand is that Albert Einstein said that everything is energy, and that's just all there is to it, okay? Everything is energy, okay? That means you're a form of energy, I'm a form of energy, and the desk that we're sitting at is also a form of energy. That nothing is as solid as it appears. And that if you were to look at it under a microscope, what you'd see is actually a whole bunch of tiny little particles all moving and vibrating very rapidly at an intense rate, okay? We live in what's called an ocean of motion, where everything is constantly moving, all right? And the law of conservation of energy states that energy cannot be created or destroyed, okay? It cannot be created or destroyed. All energy operates according to law, okay? And it all moves into form, through form, and out of form, okay? Into form, through form, and out of form. It cannot be created or destroyed. Now, why is that important? Well, that's important because your thoughts are also a form of energy, okay? Not sure if you've ever taken time to think about that, but it's true that your thoughts are a form of energy. And as a form of energy, we can reason that it also operates according to law, okay? And this diagram was invented by a man named Dr. Thurman Fleet back in the 1930s to demonstrate how thought energy moves through a human being, okay? How thought energy moves through a human being. And one thing we need to understand is that we exist simultaneously on 3 planes of existence, okay? This is part of what makes it so difficult to be a human being. The fact is that we're spiritual beings first and foremost, okay? But we also possess an intellect, okay? We possess an intellect. And we live in a physical body, okay? So sometimes people will say, well, I have a soul. Well, the truth is you are a soul and you have a body, not the other way around. Okay. Now, psychology tells us that our mind consists of two parts. Two parts. We have our conscious mind, okay? And we also have our what? Our subconscious mind. Okay. Now, most people will probably be familiar with those terms, or at the very least have heard those terms before. Okay. Now, your conscious mind is sometimes referred to as your thinking mind or your reasoning mind. Sometimes it's referred to as your logical mind or even your educated mind. Okay. This is the part of your mind that people go to school for and read books for, to fill with all kinds of facts and figures and data and information. Okay. To become educated. All right. Now, we also have what's called the subconscious mind. Okay. Now, the subconscious mind is sometimes referred to as your feeling mind or your emotional mind. Okay. Sometimes it's also referred to as your universal mind or the one mind. Okay. And the reason why it's referred to as your universal mind or the one mind is because of the universal law of divine oneness, which states that we are all one in the same, in the sense that we are all inextricably connected to one another. And the separateness that we experience is actually a form of an illusion. I believe it was the philosopher Rumi that said we are not the ocean or a drop in the ocean. We are the ocean in a drop. And the same powers that created me are the exact same powers that created you. And that we are all way more connected than any of us realize. Okay. The law of divine oneness. I'm not sure I spelled that correctly. Okay. Now, one of the basic premises of psychology is to understand, or we need to acknowledge the fact that our thoughts, okay, control our feelings. Okay. And that's why when you have a happy thought, you typically have a corresponding happy emotion or happy feeling, right? And your feelings or emotions influence what actions you take, or in some cases, don't take. And based on the actions that you're taking or not taking, you can expect to get a result in life, right? Okay, bear with me here. Okay, we got our thoughts control our feelings influence our actions, and based on the actions that we're taking, we get a result in life. Okay, so as it would stand, if you would like a different result in life, you only need to do one thing and go back and you change your thoughts. And when you change your thoughts, it's like a domino effect or tic-tac-toe. You change your feelings, which influence your actions, which give you a different result in life. Okay. It's the law of cause and effect. Right? And the law of cause and effect states that for every action, there's a reaction. And if you want a different outcome, you've got to start taking a different action. All right. The law of cause and effect. Emerson called it universal law number one. Number one. Now, the challenge with that, of course, is that, well, changing your thoughts is sometimes a little bit more difficult than you realize. You know what I mean? Easier said than done. In fact, little side note here, the average person has about 60 to 70,000 thoughts per day. Okay. Which sound like a lot until you realize that most of them are repetitive. Okay. In fact, about 95% of the thoughts that you have today are the same thoughts that you had yesterday and the day before that and the day before that and the day before that. Okay. Of those 60 to 70,000 thoughts, about 80% of them are negative. Okay. Now, whether or not most people would agree with that, statistically speaking, that's the truth. The average person has about 80% negative thoughts. Okay. Either thoughts about worry or complaining or criticism or things of that nature. Maybe negative self-talk too. Okay. And lastly, most of our thoughts are unconscious. About 95 to 98% of our thoughts, we're not even necessarily aware of what it is that we're thinking. Okay, that it goes on below the level of conscious awareness. Okay. Now, what we need to understand here is that, a lot of times people will say things like, well, knowledge is power, or when I know better, I do better. All right. And that's true to a certain extent. Okay. But the truth is that knowledge is only potential power. And the fact is that, knowledge is only powerful when it's applied. All right. And usually there's a very big difference between what people know and what people do, isn't there? Yeah. I mean, most people would tell you how to lose weight if they wanted to. You only got to do a couple of things. You got to eat right and exercise, right? But that's not what most people do, is it? No. In fact, there's a very simple reason why that is. Okay. And the truth is that we're not logical creatures. It's true. We'd like to believe that we are. Don't make any mistakes about that. We like to think that we are, but the truth is we're not as logical as we think. In fact, we're not logical creatures, we're biological. And that causes us to act emotionally based on how we're feeling in the moment, oftentimes. And in fact, this is true. You can look this up. That psychologists believe that your conscious thinking mind only accounts for about 5% of what you do. Okay. Crazy when you think about it, isn't it? Yeah, mind blowing. And if my deductive reasoning is correct here, then that means that our subconscious mind accounts for about 95% of what we do, which is wild. Kind of scary when you really think about it. But actually, it makes sense. And the reason is because, well, most of our behavior is habitual, and most of our habits occur below that level of conscious awareness. I mean, we're creatures of habit, aren't we? 100%. Okay. So this is where our habits live. Okay. But this is also where our beliefs live. Okay. It's also where our fears, our doubts, our insecurities live. It's in our subconscious mind. Okay. We also have a little thing called a paradigm. Okay? And a paradigm is essentially, it's a multitude of habits. Okay. Or a belief system. Okay. It's kind of like you can think of it as like a framework for how you view the world. All right. And a large part of your paradigm is what you could call your self-image. Okay. And your self-image is exactly what it sounds like. It's your perceptions of yourself. Okay. It's your beliefs about the type of person that you believe yourself to be. It's who you think you are. It's also who you think you're not. Okay. Which is a really interesting concept. But it's also your beliefs and your attitudes about what you think you're capable of, what you think you're deserving of, okay, and where you think your limits reside, okay? And your self-image or your paradigm controls so much of your life, everything from your decision-making, okay, your relationships, your finances, your fitness, okay, your career choice, and on and on and on and on. All right. And one of the most important things that we need to wrap our head around is the fact that your self-image operates exactly like a thermostat. Okay. It operates exactly like a thermostat in the sense that right now, you probably have your thermostat set to a relatively comfortable temperature, right? If you're in Canada, it's about 21 degrees Celsius. If you're in the States, it's something similar to maybe 70 or 72 degrees, I believe. Okay. And what happens is your thermostat is constantly taking temperature of the room around you. And if the room senses that, or if the thermostat senses that the room starts to get a little bit too cool, what happens is it sends a signal to the furnace to start to heat it up again, doesn't it? Yeah. And if the room starts to get a little bit too warm and starts to get a little bit too uncomfortable, well, it senses that too, and it sends a signal to start to cool off the temperature of the room. And all day and all week and all month, your thermostat operates to keep the temperature of the room fluctuating, but within this like band of comfort, aka your comfort zone. Okay. Now, the reason why this is so important is because you cannot outperform your self-image. You cannot outperform your self-image. Unconsciously, we will always find a way to self-sabotage or revert back to old patterns and old habits and ensure that we get the same old results, aka your comfort zone. Okay, because one of the strongest forces in human nature is this desire to remain consistent with who we believe ourselves to be. Okay, and unless you change your self-image, your paradigm, and some of your unconscious habits and beliefs, change on the outside will be short-lived at best. I mean, you might make a little bit of progress, but over the long term, you'll always find a way to revert back to old habits and old patterns. That's why, what happens to most people when they start a diet or start exercising? Well, they usually experience a little bit of progress and some success at first, don't they? But over time, what typically happens? If they're trying to lose weight, they might lose 10 or 15 pounds, but they usually put it all back on again, don't they? Yeah, of course. This happens too with people's finances. Now, you've probably heard this statistic before, but you hear stories sometimes of people winning the lottery. Okay, they'll go on and win $10 million or something of that effect. And statistically speaking, okay, about 70% of the people who win the lottery end up going bankrupt within 3 years. Okay, you can look that up. That's true. Okay, and you got to wonder, like, what the heck? How does somebody burn through that much money? The truth is that there's probably a number of different causes, okay, reasons, but the fact is that one of the biggest reasons is because their external world, their results in their bank account, no longer reflect their internal beliefs about themselves and who they think they are and what they think they deserve. So they unconsciously self-sabotage and find a way to burn through it or give it away or gamble it away or whatever. Okay. And the reason is because one of the strongest forces in human nature is that desire to remain consistent with who we believe ourselves to be. Okay. Now, there are only two very specific ways to change your self-image or to change your paradigm. Okay. The first is what's called a strong emotional impact. Okay? A strong emotional impact. Now, this could be any number of things, but sometimes it could be like a near-death experience or the loss of a loved one or a health scare, maybe. Okay. But it's something that, grabs your attention real quick. It's like a sucker punch to the gut from life. Or in some cases, it's like hitting rock bottom, where all of a sudden now you've got no choice but to change. Okay. The thing with that is that, those negative or those strong emotional impacts, they're always negative. Okay. And they're usually something that's imposed upon you. All right. It's from the outside in. It's something that you don't have much control over. All right. The second way to create a shift in your paradigm or change your self-image is through what's called repetition of thought. Repetition of thought. Okay. Repetition of thought. And that's where understanding how your mind operates, okay, understanding the flow of thought energy through a human being and how the human mind and your thought energy interact with other universal laws, including the law of relativity, okay, the law of circulation, okay, the law of rhythm. I can never remember how to spell rhythm. Something like that. Close. The law of relativity, the law of circulation, the law of rhythm, the law of compensation. Okay. The law of entropy. Okay. The law of vibration. The law of attraction, which a lot of people are familiar with, the law of attraction, but to be honest with you, most people drastically misunderstand the law of attraction. Okay. Oh yeah, there's also the law of polarity. Okay. The law of gender and the law of gestation. Okay. And all of these laws are interacting all the time, okay, with us, our life, and it's how we interact with them, okay, that determine our results in life. And the way that I always explain this is, it's a little bit like playing a game. All right. Life is a game to a certain extent. All right. And if you don't know the rules, how can you be expected to win? If you don't understand the laws, how can you be expected to win? I'll oftentimes ask people, like, do you ever play cricket? It's a very, very popular sport in different parts of the world, like, South Africa and India and things like that. But I've never played cricket. I don't know the rules. And if I don't know the rules of cricket, what are the chances that I'm going to come out victorious? Probably not very high. So this is a very, very basic intro level understanding of the human mind, how it operates, and how we can use this information to bend and mold ourselves to fit universal laws and the natural laws. Because like I said before, those laws don't bend or break for anybody. Okay. They're not going to bend to our will. So it's up to us to understand how they work so that we can adjust our understanding, our behavior, and our approach to life in order to get better results. So if this was at all interesting to you and you made it this far in the video, I encourage you to reach out and to book a call, no strings attached, and if you'd like to learn more. But either way, I hope you enjoyed Mindset 101, and I look forward to speaking with you soon. Take care. Talk soon. Thanks.